All systems go. Clear for liftoff. What's up, everyone? Tyler Tamboline here, a.k.a. ToeTagginTambo, back for another edition of the Monday Night Football Showdown show here on the SHIPIT Nation YouTube station. Got title here, got hoop here, going to break it all down as usual, talk through grand scheme overview, captain ownership, how we're handling the captain position, take it position by position from there, roster construction, build-outs, all that and more. Hoopster, I'll bring you in first. Been a pretty good week for the SHIPIT Nation crew and all the members last night, even in Showdown, 3 shippers up top for $13K plus, just a huge week across the board. What's going on, man?
Yeah, solid week. I mean, the tweets out there with all the success that the members had, and it's like one of the most rewarding things to see when you're in this sort of industry. I mean, obviously, you want your personal successes along the way, but when you see, members of this community continue to have really big weeks, and in some cases, really, really big weeks, as you can see in that tweet, it's cool and it's fun and it makes it all worth it. And congratulations to all the winners. And let's not stop the winning yet. I mean, we got a game here tonight and then right into the Thanksgiving slate, which is very exciting, despite the shitty contest layout, which I agree with your tweet from DraftKings, just, makes very little sense to me. But again, the contests are big tonight and on Thursday, and it's going to be a fun week. Got a standalone game on Friday, which we'll have a show to in full content. So it's an exciting stretch of football here. Yeah,
the early show, like you just talked about, sorry, title, before I bring you in, just quick stuff. The Wednesday show is going to be 1 p.m. Eastern. Same crew here. You don't expect. It's going to be the three of us breaking down the 3-gamer. The coverage over at SHIPIT Nation will be on the 3-gamer. We'll have featured coverage for the Thursday night game that it's going to be on that Thanksgiving slate. And then we'll have the Black Friday game, I think they're calling it. That's going to have coverage as well. So everything you know and expect. $20 buy-in today title, $500K up top. What's going on, my man? Week 12, still here. Great week. Keep it rolling. Not the best week. We got tonight to fix that. What's going on, man?
Yeah, a huge week for the nation. Love going in Discord and seeing all the screenshots. I mean, NBA, shout out to Rio and the team. Ham, BJ always grinding there. See plenty there. Answer, got a big one, always grinding. The Sean Sullivan one earlier. College football stays on fire. I mean, such a good time over here at SHIPIT Nation. But yeah, $500K up top. Absolutely no one will complain about that. Good real life game, 51 total. 2.5-point favorites are the Ravens. And it's very concentrated at captain, which with a couple guys, as you'd expect when it's Lamar, Derrick Henry, slate, and then only really a couple guys on the Chargers that are pretty appealing. But yeah, it's a solid showdown game, I think.
Yeah, we'll talk more when we get into the show how I'm going to go broke on this slate, but that's perfect. I'm definitely taking a huge stand, but shout out to Sean, not only calling his shot, adding a full zero. He shipped 50K last week, had a nice little giveaway for everybody yesterday. So again, thank you to Sean. Hooked a couple of members up with $85 the package there. So congrats again to Sean, but now calling his shot for that. And this is Nade's what we're all hoping for. Everyone's had some bad runouts this season at times. Maybe we can get it rolling. This is a good question, though. Something I always debate. I would think, play this towards what your game and style is. I think you should always sort of have a feel for what that is. If you like a smaller slate, remember it's staggered. So there's like late swap. I mean, you're always going to be up against the best in the world with multiple seats and all that, but I really would focus on what you feel best is about your game. Hoop, I don't know, did you have a thought on this one?
Yeah, I mean, think about what sort of slate and number of games you feel most comfortable with. We always talk about it like on the PGA stuff too, like with the PGA Showdown. Some people are just better at PGA Showdown. I think you and I have had a lot of success PGA Showdown, sometimes more than on the main slate, and we've had these conversations like, find the game, the style of play that fits your process the best. And if it's a smaller slate, fire away. If it's the main slate, save it for the main slate. Whatever you feel most comfortable with. But I guess, congratulations on the seat and hopefully turn that into some life-changing money.
Yeah, and think about that too. I like that part you just added. What did you win the seat in, right? If you want it in Showdown on a single game, yeah, it's different. Maybe you can't apply as much from that situation. But if you want it on a main slate in a field that's similar size or something, play it like you just played it and hope that the the run goes in your way again, right? You have that good run out and you get the top of that one for $1 million. So certainly appreciate that. Hoop, I'll get your grand scheme overview in a sec, but just real quick, Title mentioned this. Title, did you look at the upcoming schedule? The two teams playing tonight, good real life game. We're getting a lot of them. The Ravens got a bunch of these island and 2-game slates coming up. There's a bunch of 2-game slates this month too. So if you're not watching or didn't plan on watching, tune in with us on Wednesday, breaking down the 3-gamer that's staggered because you'll be able to use that in the future. But the Chargers are 3 of the next 11 slates, I think, that we play for Showdown. They got flexed into another one. So a lot to take away. This is round 1, but just wondered if you saw anything on that. And 2, the Harbaugh Bowl, right? We're getting version 2, not the Super Bowl and 49ers, but the Harbaugh coaches going back and forth tonight.
Yeah, 2 defensive mind coaches and a big boy total, so that's pretty interesting. But hey, I don't hate Chargers primetime games really because Herbert's been balling and there's plenty of different ways you can kind of go with this team. So I mean, we just saw it last week with Will Dissly, kind of low-owned mid-tier captain. Ladd got hurt, he came back. Like they're moving the ball. Herbert's looking good, so I'll sign up for some more Chargers primetime games.
I'm with you. I like that. And the one they flexed out was good. Hoop, your boy, Danny's in here. Said it's coming down to my Vikings and your Lions. See you at US Bank Stadium for the NFC Championship game, buddy. Is that a deal?
This has been going back and forth since week 1. And, man, like, I feel good about my Lions being there, but the Vikings, I don't know, man. They struggled with the Bears yesterday. Like, they're kind of trending in the wrong direction in my eyes. But hopefully it happens because this has kind of been an ongoing thing. And if it is the NFC Championship, you'll be coming my way. So we'll definitely get connected. And there's no doubt I'll be at that game. So hopefully it happens. We'll meet up and we'll be at the game together for sure.
Yeah, I'm going to bring up the stone and then I'll get your grand scheme overview. Just wanted to point this out to people as well, besides the promos and what I just don't know. I know a lot of people out there want to know what's going on at SHIPIT Nation before they hop in. And maybe some people didn't know this, but you can go to the site. The Shiptimizer tutorials are completely free. So you just click tutorials. You can see what our optimizer is all about. But if you want to see what all this stuff is, everyone always says, I see the list. Like, what is it? You can just click NFL up at the top and go through and see what everything is. You can't view it further unless you're a member. But if you do want to know what we carry and what we've got you covered for and all the value that you can get, we'll get into the promos later. But Hoop, I'm going to bring up the stone to start things off. This is found under NFL Showdown, the stone. We got it all updated and ready to go, man. Big boy totals. I like what Title said there. That's kind of interesting. 2 defensive-minded, sort of, run the ball type of coaches in some cases, special teams, etc. Big boy total. What's your thoughts on this game? Early first look here.
I always got to shout out our guy Derek, the teacher. So parent-teacher conferences today. So no kids the rest of the day. So he doesn't even have to, keep these kids distracted. He's able to enjoy the full show. So as always, appreciate your support and enjoy the afternoon without the kiddos.
Hey, read the last sentence.
And well, that's secondary. First ever ship last night too. So congratulations,
Derek.
Yeah, shout out Derek. That's awesome, man. To get nice. It's like another little shipper today. No kids. There you go. Good to go.
Yeah, double ship back to back. So the one thing, 5 weeks ago, if we said we have the Chargers on tonight and the Chargers on a bunch of primetime games, we would have been like, oh shit, man, this is going to be boring because they weren't pushing it offensively. It was all like, run it out, run out the clock, like make it nasty. Well, something's shifted in their play calling the last few weeks because they've been moving the ball and throwing it more. And Herbert's had some, pretty solid fantasy games as well. I mean, early on in the season, you look at it 10, 13, 9, 11, 13, and then fantasy performances of 17, 24, 19, 25. So it's like halfway through the season, they obviously have shifted something and gone a little more pass heavy, which makes the games more appealing. And if you're going to beat the Ravens, as you can see here on the stone, F against the pass defense and an A against the run defense, so you want to pass the ball. The difficult part about this slate is the captain, like who you play at the captain position. Yes, if you just run it, it's going to be a lot of Lamar Jackson. You got the dry run here. I guess that's a really good segue into that. The dry run has 60, 80, was that 84? So 84.
And I checked it twice, man. My Santa Claus, I was checking my list. I turned it off, ran everything. That's just it.
Is there anything crazy in Flex? If you click on Flex, is there some random bum that's like all the way Herbert?
Jalen Reagor 22, but not.
No, yeah, it's not like super crazy. So nothing like wild, but we're getting a $200 guy that's projected for 2 fantasy points at like 80%. So yeah, if you just run it, it's going to be Lamar Jackson. Now, like if you don't want to play Lamar up top, like what do you do? The problem, I don't know if it's a problem, but if you want to go with like Herbert in the Chargers passing game, he's priced so closely to Lamar Jackson where he's just got to beat him straight up. Like he's got to beat him straight up. And is it possible? Yeah, sure. But I mean, more times than not, you're going to be putting your money on Lamar Jackson over Herbert. There's only a $600 difference. He's going to have to beat him just straight up in raw fantasy points tonight. Derrick Henry, 10-8. And that's a big price tag. So where I'm struggling tonight is at the captain position. And, the show will definitely go a long way in terms of what I do at the captain. I'll be honest, at this point, I'm struggling. I don't want the running backs. I know for sure from the Chargers, kind of, with Gus Edwards back, they're mixing more of these guys in. J.K. Dobbins doesn't have like the workhorse sort of role that we saw early on in the season. The pass catchers for the Chargers outside of McConkey, the donkey, kind of hit or miss, and he's all the way up at 9K. You have Zay Flowers. So I'm struggling in terms of what I want to do at the captain position, and we'll talk through it. Lamar Jackson clearly looks like the best option up top. He's going to be the most popular. We're showing 26% ownership. So kind of curious what you guys think at the captain, and it's definitely going to dictate probably what I do today as well.
Yeah, I'll let Title hop in here first. Title, just quick thoughts on how you sort of see the game playing out, I guess, if you had to just pick away, start there. Obviously, you can build your lineups and sets accordingly, etc. And then just take us into your thoughts at the captain as well.
I think both teams move the ball. No Roquan Smith is pretty big on the Ravens side. That definitely is a boost for the Chargers. I mean, obviously, I bet Hoop $500 that the Ravens would outlast the Lions. I think they're a really good football team.
Any regret?
No, I mean, it's not like I knew I wasn't getting myself the best odds. It's just eye test wise, I think Ravens are better because the NFC. You said why the NFC's cheese.
That's a tough statement to make at this point in the season, man. Eye test wise, the Ravens look better.
I think so,
bro. Come on, you don't mean that.
I truly mean
Lions have. I mean, even as a Ravens fan,
I'm played some really bad teams to have the Lions.
I mean, they just went to Houston, beat the.
What did Houston just do yesterday?
Lost to Tennessee. Yeah, I agree. But to say that anyone in the NFL right now looks better than the Lions is just a bad statement to make.
I think Ravens look better. But I'll keep it moving. I'll take the quarterback. I'll take the running back. Not Amon-Ra, but your boy Laporta too. He is cheeks. So Andrews ain't great either. But let's keep it going. Ravens side, or this game, I think they moved the ball. Lamar's up there. The thing with Lamar and Herbert, which is interesting, is Herbert's been running the ball lately, which is big. You look at the rushing prop, 42.5 for Lamar, 20.5 for Herbert. So that's not a crazy difference. Lamar's touchdown prop, obviously this is on the ground or receiving, plus 220. Herbert's is plus 380. I usually expect higher from Lamar. A lot of that is because Derrick Henry's minus 220. This year, they're just willing to give it to him on the goal line, and it's not as many read options and stuff. So I have Herbert projected a lot closer than Lamar than I thought I would. I have him within about 2. Lamar, we have right now like 3.5, 4. And he's going to be, we look at captain ownership, 26%, and we have Herbert at 16 or 15%. I wouldn't even be surprised if Lamar gets to like the 30-ish range and Herbert gets down to like the 11 or 12 range. So I'm going to play some Herbert. He can spread it around. He can use his legs a little bit, and he's a fraction of the ownership. So I'm definitely going there. I am playing Lamar. I mean, he obviously can break any slate with his legs. I'm going to keep it, I think, relatively condensed. It's for sure Lamar, Herbert. I'm with Hoop. I'm not playing any of J.K. Dobbins or Gus Edwards or anything there. I'm going Zay Flowers, wide receiver 1 on Baltimore side. And then I'm just playing Lamar, Henry, Flowers captain. I'll play a little more on Chargers. I like Herbert I talked about. And then I think it's Ladd Disley for me, and that might be it. I'm debating Quentin Johnston a little bit because it's a fair price tag. And when we get to like position by position, there is not a lot of value on this slate. Like Jalen Reagor, as you showed, at 22%, he's $800, one of the better values down there, and he very well could go out and get you a 0. So that's why I do think I'm going to play some Disley, some Quentin Johnston. But the problem is, man, like I don't love Andrews, likely. Bateman, I guess, is fine, but one of these guys up top is, I think, going to put up a big boy. The value, though, we saw Covey, the worst play ever yesterday. I'm sorry, Rio, and made our members get there. It was one of the few showdown slates, I think maybe once all year. It's happened more in the past. It could be a slate like that as well, but I never try and play for it like that.
Yeah, it's tough to see how it goes. I mean, it's all going to be what you decide the game is. If you guys can give us your final score in the chat, I see some people already throwing it in there. I wanted to get that early on. I already had the consensus, and it's most certainly coming true exactly what I expected to see. All big boy scores. And the product of last night is, I think, the product of those two teams, right? We know what it was. There's three big dogs with no Devonta Smith. It was Barkley, A.J. Brown, Hurts. The other side all season, even if you exclude Matt Stafford, has been Kyren Williams, Kupp, Nakua. I don't necessarily see these options like those options, and I also think they can spread it out a lot more, which is why I liked your Herbert call. I am definitely telling you my captain thoughts right out of the gate, and I love this slate. I am going to 100% fade Lamar. It's $500K up top. It's $20. It's fine. He's definitely the best captain. So I'm willing to go broke on this, but I always have reasons for it, and I have multiple things that I think are leaning in my favor. I don't have an overwhelming sense of wanting to build for a big back and forth over game. I actually think I love Title's take right off the top. Just a mention that was already how I'm thinking. The chat's all on the opposite side. I think these two guys are going to just hammer each other on the ground and make this a big, heavy ground and pound. It may still get to 45, 48. It's, the numbers are set for a reason. I just have this, that's my thought about it. And if I already feel that way and it could happen, and I think they have the options to make it happen. The chat already talked about it. I don't care about the revenge narrative of Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins, but won't surprise me to see those guys being in the mix. And when I fade Lamar, it's automatic Henry. It's automatic Herbert. I don't know exact, what's Lad McConkey's health right now, but I think they expect him to play, right? So
yeah, I think he's going to play. I mean, he's officially questionable, but it looks like he's in.
Yeah, I think he's in. So yeah, that's what I was going to say. Thank you. So McConkey, Johnston, and then it's Zay. And then I'll take a sprinkle of the tight ends, but I can take that sprinkle because I don't have Lamar at any ownership in captain. I will have him in the flex everywhere because he's going to have a good game. Does he have a game that breaks it? And I got it right last night. I was way underweight. It was in the slate plan on Hurts. Didn't really, it's the same kind of thing. If you can get that floor outcome, I think that's what it's going to be. They're going to make it happen through other guys. They're going to want to ground and pound it. So it's multiple reasons. I never like the super popular quarterback up in the top with these expensive ones. Also, I will say, Hoop, I'll kick it back to you now. I'm rambling, but the thing about last night versus this night too is not only do we know how condensed it would be on both sides, but Hurts wasn't getting the steam everyone thought he was. Like Hurts was going to be somewhat popular, but not as popular when you had A.J. Brown, Barkley. You really did have Nakua, Kupp, other choices that could go up top. I don't feel like that's the same tonight. I don't see any way where Lamar's not pushing 30.
Yeah, it's going to be massive ownership. Yeah, there's just not there was last night on the other side, you had Nakia, you had Cooper Kupp, Kyren Williams, and even Matthew Stafford, who people were interested in playing a captain. And then you had guys on the same side. You go outside of Lamar Jackson. That's why I opened it where like this is, not a first look. I've looked a little bit, but like first time actually digging into it. And you can poke holes in anything outside of Lamar Jackson. So everyone's going to want to go just Lamar Jackson up top. They're going to play him at a very, very high rate. I think it could be even higher. So what we're showing, what we have like 25. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's probably more into the 30 range because again, I said it, like if you're playing Herbert, he's got to beat Lamar and you got to say in your head, like Herbert can beat Lamar. Derrick Henry's got to beat Lamar Jackson just in terms of raw fantasy points. There's no distance in salary there where they could like kind of underperform and still be there. So a lot of people are going to look at that when they're building their teams, and it's going to be a very Lamar heavy approach. And in regards to our guy Sites, however you pronounce it, Derrick Henry to Saquon tonight, hold my beer. I wouldn't go that far. Like can Henry be the winner tonight? Yeah, absolutely. Can Henry go off? Absolutely. What Saquon did last night was beyond impressive.
Crazy.
And I don't think it's a hold my beer scenario. I'll say that.
No, I don't disagree there either. I think the other thing, because you do such a good job pointing this out with these dry runs, is I always, I didn't even think of that step right away, but you're like, now go to the flex. And the key component to that strategy and that part of your process is how easy is it? Like,
it's easy to play.
Lamar, but you feel comfortable. You don't have any punts. Rieger at 20%, 80%, he's in 84%. And only 20 of your overall portfolio, 22, has Rieger. So, like, you're going to get lineups with Lamar. You feel more than comfortable. So, again, analogy before I go, back to Hoop here. But I know I'm playing with fire. the money that I'm putting in, and you should know your own bankroll management and all this stuff that you're doing, I can afford to take a little burn and put a Band-Aid on it and get wrapped up and go into the next. Like I'm doing this on my own account, what I'm doing, and I'm comfortable with it for other reasons than just to fade him. I think if it goes under, which I'm calling here, what I'm thinking, that it gives me the ability to get some even more balanced rosters. And I think, Title, it was a couple slates ago, you brought up a really good point with the balanced rosters. We're like, how does a Mark Andrews, I think it was you and I were comparing, I didn't like one tight end as much as you did, Ferguson and Schultz, maybe?
Yep,
and exactly. It made me think even further with my own process of that idea where it's like this, how does Dissly get up there tonight? Well, pretty simple. It's a lower scoring game. He gets you, 6 catches and a touchdown or whatever that might be. And you need Lamar, Henry, Herbert, whatever else that might look like. That would be a way. So I can see that happening. I'm going to put my money. And if it gets burnt in the fire, I am putting more money behind me to be able to go into the next building and see if I can make it through that one. But I'm not playing with money I can't afford to lose, essentially, is what I'm saying. You should be cognizant of that in your lineups as well. Go ahead, Hoop.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing, with like the Dissly, I think a lot of people think if they're playing a captain, like that captain has to be like the highest scoring guy on the slate. And that's just simply, not the case. Like there's the way Dissly works where he doesn't absolutely go off is if he scores like 18 fantasy points tonight. And you need Herbert, you need Henry, and you need like Lamar Jackson in the flex. All those guys get between 20 and 25, and you just need all those guys in the flex. That's how it can play out with the mid range or cheaper captains. The one thing about this dry run as well, not only do we not have a ton of like super cheap flex guys that don't make sense, we are getting the best plays on the slate with Lamar at captain. I mean, we're getting Herbert at 87% and we're getting Derrick Henry at 57. So it just goes to show you how easy it is to build tonight. Lamar Jackson is going to be very, very popular, and it's a good slate to leave big chunks of, as far as it looks right now, a good slate to leave big chunks of salary on the table, because when you're able to build Lamar captain teams with this much ease, there's going to be a lot of duplication. So be willing to do some awkward things and leave a lot of salary on the table.
Yeah, one question. Did you have anything more on captain at all, Hoop, or you're good? I know Title sort of ran through it. I'll come back to him just for final thoughts there. But do you have anything else on that? Because you just made me think of something else here I want to show.
I think you go, my initial lean right now is you go one of two ways with the Lamar stuff. You either just go way overweight, and by way overweight, I don't mean like 33%. I'm saying like probably like 50% go. So you're making a stand up there. Like I'm going to have more Lamar Jackson teams than almost anyone in the field, or you just don't play it like you're talking about doing. So I don't think playing Lamar with the field makes much sense, because no matter how you shake it, you're just going to have very similar teams to everyone else if you just kind of hang around that 25 to 30% range. So that's my initial read. Justin Herbert, I think, makes sense. Derrick Henry for sure. Zay Flowers, McConkey. I don't know how much of the cheaper tight end or cheaper captains I'll really have. It's hard to make a case for many. I wanted to make the case for Mark Andrews, but I don't think I can get there. It would probably just be maybe a guy like Dissly. But again, I'd start building most of my teams right after the show. So all the content will follow shortly after.
Yeah, Hoop's got his whole player pool, goes up on the site. SHIPIT Nation, again, if you guys want to get in right now, NBA 50 gets you 50% off. So if you want access to everything right now, you can use code NBA 50. It gets you $34.50 for your first month for all the content. But if you want Shiptimizer, which is what we're on there now, once I pull this back off the screen, this is Shiptimizer. You can get this as well for $49.50 a month. If you want just football and you only care, even if it's just NFL that you care about, we have a rest of season through February, through Super Bowl Sunday for $99 or $129 with Shiptimizer, just $10 more per month to add it. So one thing I saw there, Title, I'll kick it over to you for this and you can give your captain final thoughts, but Tucker Fisk and Stone Smart, the $200 back-end tight ups, back up tight ends, sorry, let me get this right, are popping up, and it's like still splitting them. It's obviously not putting them together, I don't think, but it's saying like 17% of Fisk based on projection, and then Stone Smart, 5%. So that's 20% of the lineups that are popping with those guys. Any quick thoughts on that? And you can give your final captain thoughts.
That shows how bad value is. We just saw Covey with the 0 get there, and there's a lot of studs to pay for. And last week, Fisk ran 24% was on the field for 24 snaps, which was 36%. Smart 10%. So just naturally, I lean into Fisk right there. 3 times as many snaps. Do I like it though? No, these guys are cardio machines blocking. Might very well get 0 targets. So that's when I guess on captain, the more I was thinking and looking at props, Bateman's the one that kind of stands out to me. He has very similar props to Disley, pretty similar to Quentin Johnston too. He's 2K less than Johnston, 1K less than Disley, unowned at captain. And I like to spend up captains, but I'm going to play some Disley for sure. And now I think Bateman, so I don't have to play Fisk or Rager, or we're going to get to Justice Hill. He looks like one of the better values on the slate. So many ways that none of those guys get there. And going Bateman, so I guess I'll ask you guys, is looking at his game log. 17 2 weeks ago, 25, obviously good enough, 11, 15, 11. Is 15 or 17 good enough at captain today, do you guys think?
I think it's possible for sure because how I see the game going. But
yeah, I would take that. I would sign up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, those scenarios, it's like where what you're fading in those teams is, well, first off, obviously, if he nukes the slate or, absolutely goes off, that's option 1. Option 2 is he scores the 15 to 20, and then Lamar Jackson, Herbert, Henry, no one else goes off, but they're all around 20, 25, and you kind of need them in your lineup as well. That's how it all works. And just to add on to the conversation, because it was a fun show yesterday, and the Dong Bong, if you didn't hear the story about the Dong Bong, go back because I don't want to fully rehash it, but I must have been talking super loud at that point of the show. And Mrs. Hoop heard the whole conversation. I didn't realize she was texting me as she was going on. So number 1, the Dong Bong is still active. It's at my mother-in-law's house, I found out. Number two is she has pictures of Hoopster doing the Dong Bong. She goes, "Oh, I could release those if you want." I said, No. I said, we're pumping the brakes on that. Those things are not going to make it onto social media. So that's the update on the Dong Bong.
Yeah. If the Ravens get past the Lions hoop, maybe that picture gets out there.
Ooh.
You'll have to go to Mrs. Hoop with that one. She might. She would probably. She'd make a deal. She'd definitely cut a deal with you because she was willing to hop on the office computer here and post some in Discord. And
Hoop's not going to want to pass on the $500 plus give the picture out. That's a double.
It's the scenario we talked about yesterday. I'll double pay or something or triple pay before I have to do something.
That was what Title was angling for. If he can get you to slice that in there, maybe you
add in a little 2 to 1 or something for him.
No problem. I won't do the picture part. Just double it up to 1K. A couple quick thoughts there too. I guess the Bateman one is interesting, Title. Now that you said that, and I'll definitely have the room to play with no Lamar, and there's ways that it can happen. Nobody wants him even in flex. He's like 15, 16% in flex. He's pricey up top, and he could be the guy. But this is another angle I was going to mention earlier, and I'm a Ravens homer. I understand Title's protecting his money. The Lions have looked damn good, and the Ravens have looked pretty bad in a few of these spots where
I respect Title like so much, but that's got to be like one of the worst statements he's ever made on
I still have the faith. I got the faith.
Your guys beating the Titans and the Jaguars and all this shit.
Should we pull up the Ravens schedule and
they've
see?
lost to like the Browns with
it's like the crazy. They're making it seem like they're beating the Chiefs every week or something.
Yeah, there's arguments to be made. I'm the man in the middle here. I'm a homer
to say based on the eye test, that's what got me. If you think they're better, that's fine. But to say based on the eye test like that
I love what I'm seeing. When this team gets in the playoffs, I think the Ravens are set up for a lot of success.
It's never worked that way recently, but I hope they are. For sure. I've had some massive letdowns these last couple of times.
The Derrick Henry edition, I think, in December or in January will be huge. Taking a lot off of Lamar, I think will be big.
I do love that call, 100% actually. The other thing I was going to say though about this game is I also think there is just a chance that one side just shows up, and if it's the Ravens, it could be through others and not just Lamar. It's a team game, passing around, moving it. That could be the reason why. The other thing is if it is just the pass defense just continues to be a letdown, or people talked about guys not being available in the secondary where the running game gets going for the Chargers, that keeps the score down, most likely keeps the clock running, and other angles of attack that the Chargers could just get there. So It will be interesting to see, but that's my sort of final thoughts there. I just have no problem. And going off of Lamar gives me a lot of options of what I can do up top. I'll have all that up on the site later under the slate plan. Title, any other final thoughts at captain that you had?
Nope, that's all I got.
All right, man, halfway through, 30 minutes in, let's get to running backs. Talk to us more. We just talked about Derrick Henry. You said when he gets to the playoffs, it's not quite D-Hember yet, but he's been doing it every month leading up. We looked at his career sample size. Obviously gets better in November, gets better in December. It's been great. I think he's a good spot tonight from a leverage perspective, obviously with the Lamar stuff, but talk to us about running backs.
Yeah, the Ravens side, as always, we talk about it every show. It's really game script dependent for them. If they're playing with the lead, it's Derrick Henry all day and they just pound the football and win it that way. If they're trailing or close games or 2-minute drills, anything like that, it's Justice Hill. And I'm not like the Keaton Mitchell, since he's came back from injury, has hardly been involved. So I'm not worried about that yet. But like last week, both Henry and Justice Hill played 30 snaps. They lost that game 18-16. A very close game. And they're trailing a little bit. When they need pass catching backs, they will go to Justice Hill. If you think Chargers, someone said Chargers by double digits. I think Justice Hill would be one of the best plays on the slate then if that is the case. Because more than likely, it won't be Henry out there. It'll be Justice Hill getting the garbage time and can clean up that way. The thing I don't love about Justice Hill, and I mentioned it like 2 minutes ago, was he is getting ownership. I wouldn't even be surprised if that 18 in the flex is like 24 in the flex. And that's because when you compare him to others in the range, it's really gross. People aren't going to want to go Chargers defense. People want to go Justice Hill over Ravens defense. Deontay Johnson, who the heck knows about him? Gus Edwards is fine. Aguilar's fine too. I mean, I still have Justice Hill projected for like 4 points higher than Aguilar, stuff like that. So just be careful. I guess I don't even know. I want you guys to discuss like playing Henry and Hill together. Obviously, it is possible, but again, because the game scripts, they're so game script dependent, I don't really know how that would work. So I want you guys to mention that. Other side Chargers.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Trying to like my thing is it'd probably have to be like a Gainwell thing yesterday where he just falls in kind of silly like that and they're playing from the lead, but he's hardly out there, so it'd have to be a 2-minute drill.
Yeah, and I can't like what you nailed is like it would if it's a high scoring game. Like again, yes, Justice Hill could have just got one of them, and then they keep crushing them, so it ends up being that way. But you'd almost think it would be in a lower scoring game where Henry did enough to be in the flex as like a touchdown and some yards on the ground, and then Hill got involved because they were down some, maybe like a 4-2 Chargers where they both got. I mean, that's interesting, but I get what you're saying. Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, no. I'm glad you like this. Most spots you can always play two running backs like that, rotating like Swift and Roschon Johnson or whatever. This one just feels a little harder, but you definitely can do it because of the lack of value. Charger side, I know I don't have much interest in Dobbins. I mean, that is a big boy price tag. It leverages off everything. Like he's by far the lowest. He's like the Kyron Williams of yesterday. There's so many other better plays. You know what you're getting. You're getting a low-owned starting running back. He is minus 130 to score. He's expensive though. He's got to do a lot. I'm not playing for that game script. Not saying I'm fading. I will definitely be underweight. I prefer going Gus Edwards at 2.8K. We need value on the slate. A pivot from Justice Hill. And I mean, first week back, 25% of snaps. Last week, 16%. Has some goal line equity. He is plus 400, I guess, isn't the greatest to score, but we need value on the slate. 4 points might be enough from him. He'll be on the field. He'll get some touches. So I think my favorite running backs, if I had to pick, I mean, I do like Henry and Hill more than Gus a little bit, but it's really, really tough. And I guess we have Haskins projected for 1 down there. I can't completely say no to him. 6 snaps last week, 5 the week before. Has had some goal line touches, though. And we just saw 0 on the winner at min price yesterday. Again, different slate, but probably not 10 teams or less. If you're playing 150, he might be in my pool. Again, 0 literally won it yesterday, which is insane as that dude was 16% owned.
Yeah, Hoop's gonna keep coming at you here. Obviously,
he's got to pull out those clear glasses that he puts on after the show title, so you can start seeing straight. I agree. How
about these glasses?
Let's see. Yeah, those ones. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah,
no, these are different. These are my shooting glasses.
Oh, they look the same as your other ones.
I know they do.
Like Horizon's glasses, the safety goggles for the meeting.
Yeah, that's exactly what they are. You want my shooting headphones on too?
There we go. Let's go. You take the old lady. You take the old lady with you?
No, I go with my brother-in-law. She ain't much of a shooter.
All right.
Sniper over here, man. This guy.
Nah.
Hoop, give us your thoughts, man. Like, this is the thing. I will say quick, I guess, like the Roquan Smith thing was already brought up, but just to bring up our guy Shaloub, I always want to say what's up to him. The thing I'll say is, if you are real, I mean, Title, you're talking through it, and it all makes perfect sense. If you're selling yourself on more of these options, you should be excited about Lamar up top, because now you got tons of different ways to get different with him. I have a harder time selling myself outside of the scenarios you mentioned, where I feel very good about like my Chargers stuff, and then using Justice Hill on the other side. Love that. That's going to fit what I'm doing very well. I don't know how likely I am to get to all these other options, but Hoop, what's your thoughts?
In terms of running back position, I mean, it just couldn't be more clear for me. Like, I don't care. Like, Dobbins, what's his ownership? 20. We're showing like 27. I hope it stays there or goes up. I just can't even imagine clicking that today. Like, at 10K, I think it's the easiest fade of the slate, and I already know without going in and building my teams, I'm going to have 0 J.K. Dobbins, and I feel great about it. Like, at 10K, still getting probably close to like 30% ownership. Like, he's priced so close to those other guys. He's got to beat Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, Justin Herbert, Zay Flowers. Like, he's got to beat probably 3 of those dudes to be the guy you need, and I don't think he's doing it. So
to clarify, not to cut you off, but are you talking flex now, or are you still talking capital?
Flex. I mean, I will not be playing him in flex. I think it's just a very easy fade on the slate. I get like the leverage thing for sure. For me, like, nothing lines up to J.K. Dobbins being a solid play, and I'd be willing to put a lot of money on the fact that he is not optimal tonight. I could not have. I mean, now he's scoring 3 touchdowns for sure. I just feel so good that he is not the guy today. I'll be Xing him out. Love Henry.
Revenge game. Come on.
Yeah.
I will say one thing quick. Lamar's rushing prop 45.5. Dobbins is 46.5. That's his
Dobbins rushing prop is. I mean, how can you click the name?
And it's favored on the under at 46.
He's got to be one of the worst plays of this showdown. Like a reasonably priced guy, not like a shitter dude. He has to be one of the worst showdown plays of all time.
At what percent would you play him?
You'd have to be like 10 15? Or 12% or something. 15 maybe. Yeah, maybe 15. But like, it's coming for sure. It's coming. Like, this is a bold stand. Yeah, there's definitely a clip. MVS 2.0. Yep, get it fired up, get it ready to go. J.K. Dobbins, the worst showdown play of the year at 10K against the Ravens. And I feel very good about that.
The best part is you're right. Like 90% of the time on these, they only remember. This is like the recency bias. They're all going to think MVS clip, and Dobbins is going to get like 3 fantasy points tonight, and you're going to be right as usual. And they're going to be like, oh, well, that didn't work out for me either. And there you go. That's why. So
definitely. Yeah, get a little sprinkle. If you were faded, maybe get a little sprinkle in there for sure. I feel very good about that one. The Justice Hill thing, I think you can play them together, because with Justice Hill, we've seen him just get all these fantasy points in a burst. Like, it'll be like a 2-minute warning, and it's like 3 receptions for like 40 yards. He'll get some other stuff throughout the game. Like, it is a slate where at 3.2K, 10 could definitely be enough. So I'm good with Justice Hill, and how I play him is not going to be correlated with Derrick Henry at all. I'm fine with both of them in there. Now, if you're doing what I'm doing and fully fading J.K. Dobbins, you got to have some Gus Edwards in there for sure. And I will be playing Gus Edwards. I'll be over the field on Gus Edwards at 2,800. I mean, he is essentially 1/4 the price of J.K. Dobbins, and I'll be in on that, not messing with the other guys. But Henry, absolutely 0 J.K. Dobbins, worst play of the showdown season. Justice Hill, and then Edwards. I'm good with both of those guys.
You said 1/4 the price. I'm wondering this. What do you think the size is? Double the size? Do you think Gus the Bus is double the size of J.K. Dobbins? It's got to be. I wish I could see it. I can't find there how big this dude is, but he could just bust in for a couple touchdowns, little goal line shots, anything like that. I don't know. I kind of like the Gus call there quite a bit, actually, and the price even better. So shout out to our guy Sheets, Team Fade JKD with Hoop. We'll pick you up in the DM and go to the soup kitchen.
Yeah, it's going to be a rough one. It'll be a close the laptop, go to bed, and don't read the comments sort of night if he scores 2 touchdowns. I won't be seeing until tomorrow afternoon. I'll promise you that. What
if it's all just kickers the entire first half? We'll get there later. That could be a thing too. But Anything else there that you want to talk about, Title? If not, you can take us into wide receiver. I guess I should say quick, I don't have much to add at running back. My take was I don't have a lot of love. I think even if Keaton Mitchell starts to get involved, these guys can show up in, one-off spots and lineups and stuff like that. But the way the Ravens like to do it when they get him back and healthy is they like to mix up the trio of them just to screw around. It just keeps the defense tired. They don't know what to do. It makes room when you already have to deal with Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. It's not fun to then have to deal with shifty dudes like Justice Hill and Keaton Mitchell. You see the defense panting out there, the clock moving quicker, all of that. So can they get there? Sure. That's anything in Showdown. But I don't have a lot of love outside of the Gus Edwards, Henry and Hill. And I'm with Hoop on the J.K. Dobbins stuff. Not super excited about him, even irregardless of my other thoughts at captain and whatnot. So Title, anything else there? If not, you can go to wide receiver.
Was there, my mind definitely could be wrong, but I feel like there was a game earlier on the year where Derrick Henry exploded too, but Justice Hill also had a good game, and they both were and might have been competitive.
It was very early on. I think it might have been like one of the first Showdown slates of the season, and like it was that.
It wasn't the Chiefs, unfortunately, because I checked, but it was really close to one of the first.
Yeah, Henry had a couple big games, and it was a Justice Hill, like a 10-yard check down, and then he took it to the house or whatever that kicked it off. I think I remember what you're talking about. I just don't remember what game it was.
Some of them will have the game, but
I thought it was the first one too, Hoop, and then that was the likely game when I went back and looked. But yeah, I your point, Hoop, too. Just like the 2-minute drill and the lack of value, I will play probably some Henry or Hill. I definitely won't exit out. Receiving core.
It was the Bills game.
Bills game. Oh, they killed him. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and he had 40, and then I think Justice Hill had. Let me pull this up.
He caught a 19-yard touchdown when they're at 14-3 in the
second he's
quarter.
Got 21 fantasy points. Yeah. So it's happening.
Yeah, 6 for 78 that game. Henry was 24 for 199. Wow. Yeah, receiving. I love two of my favorite plays on the slate. Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman. You leverage off of some Henry ownership. Those guys, Lamar is going to be owned, but we made the case at the captain position. They'll both showing low ownership. Bateman only 16%. We have right now 31 for Zay Flowers. Zay's been an absolute monster. Bateman's on the field 80% of the time, even in 2 tight end sets. I think they're both very, very solid. We'll be playing both in the flex, looking to get overweight. And then Deontay Johnson's hardly been anything. Tyron Wallace, he broke that one play, which is really, really tilting. Not going to go there. Rager is the one, I guess, because of his price tag down cheap. But we did show that. Or Aguilar, excuse me. We'll get to Rager on the other side a little bit. Aguilar looks to be the wide receiver 3 still out-snapping Wallace and Deontay Johnson in double. I'm going to play some. How excited I am to play like the 5th option, though. Like Andrews is still ahead of him. Likely's still ahead. Zay, Bateman, Henry. I'll let you talk more about that. It's your Ravens team. It still looks to me, though, like he's the wide receiver 3 until I see what Deontay or one of these other guys out-snap him. Charger side, I think Quentin Johnston's a very solid play. I think Ladd's a solid play. And then Rager, I think I prefer more than Palmer because of the savings. But man, like he was on the field 13 snaps last time, 18 the week before. It's clearly Palmer, Ladd, and Quentin Johnston in 3 receiver sets. The problem is we just have very, very little value on this slate, which is why we were talking about Rager a bit. I prefer Bateman to Palmer a good bit at the same price range. But, of course, I'm going to play some Palmer, runs like 75% of snaps. So how I rank it, I love Zay and Bateman, my favorites. I think Quentin Johnston might be my favorite on the Charger side. And then Ladd. And then I want you to talk about Aguilar a bit because he looks wide receiver 3 to me, but still not exciting.
Yeah, I think you nailed it because it's also dealing with Andrews and Likely on top of definitely dealing with Zay Flowers, and Bateman's always there too. But I will say, it's another area where, again, why I feel very comfortable with my takes tonight and my stand on my stuff is because, like, Rager and Davis are based off, or Jalen Reagor, whatever. Like, these guys are based off of last game, basically, and no value on the slate. So, like, if you can get the money, which I can, up at captain, then I can easily get to Aguilar or I can get to Deontay Johnson if I think they finally roll him out for some catches. They've talked about not being able to find ways to use him, and so he's just been a product of why not pick him up. The Ravens basically did the same thing they do with their drafts with Deontay Johnson. They said the best on the board in drafts is what we're going to take. He's not the best on the board. It was just, they were saying for what they want for this guy, And for us just to pick him up, let's just pick him up. We don't use him. We don't use him. It didn't cost us much, so we'll just grab him. That's all they thought about. He's a little bit better than what they're asking for, so we'll take him. If they don't use him, they don't, but Showdown will be a place to find out. But the facts are Aguilar, Johnson, Tylan Wallace, any of those guys, if you have love for any of them, just don't seem to be getting as much in the optimizer, at least, as you're going to get with Rieger and Davis, because a lot of what we've seen lately, and then needing the value for Lamar. So you can just pay up a little bit to those guys. You can pay up a little bit to Gus Edwards, who we just talked about at running back. The, Justice Hill one's the one that probably gets steamed. So Title, you always do a good job of kicking these things back and forth. If Justice Hill's getting all that steam, we know what lineups to put him in, what game scripts, and talked even other ways you could do it. Well, why not get Gus Edwards on the other side for $400 less? Fits the same spot, and maybe he's the guy that scores a couple touchdowns, and it's not Justice Hill night, or who knows. And then same at wide receiver. So Hoop, I'll kick it to you at wide receiver. I like the big three, which is for me, Ladd McConkey, Zay, and Quentin Johnston. Bateman very close behind, and like title statements for him, so I'll go there. But I kind of like the Ravens guys as just plug and play for $1,000 or $2,000 more before playing around with all the other stuff, just because I won't need it as much at captain. For you, if you take the heavy Lamar stand, you probably need them.
Who's watching and just hit Bateman's over rushing or receiving yards? I just saw that go up on DraftKings. Someone watching.
I do like that play. I do like that call at 5,400. He might be my favorite wide receiver. I mean, he's the guy that Lamar's going to with these deep shots. He tends to get open because a lot of attention goes to Zay. A lot of attention goes to Mark Andrews. He's kind of like the third guy there. And he's, when he does well, it seems like he's wide freaking open for these touchdowns. So I do like him a ton at 54. I'm with you guys. I want to focus on like these main guys. Like I want to focus on Ladd, Quentin Johnson, Palmer. I want to focus on Zay Flowers, Bateman, and even Aguilar. Like I know he's going to be out there and get opportunities. I don't want to mess with I'm going to have some of Rieger and, I don't know, maybe just him. Like the Deontay Johnson thing, like crazy. Like not only is he not getting reps, when he does get reps, it looks terrible. Like there's no connection with Lamar Jackson. He looks lost out there. He looks absolutely lost. So I don't want to have to dig down to these guys. So if I have to lower I'm playing Lamar captain. If I have to lower my Lamar captain exposure to avoid some of these dumpster fires down here, like I'm definitely going to do that. Like definitely going to do it. I just don't, if Rieger and Darius Davis and Tylan Wallace are like the popular punt plays, man, I want nothing to do with that. And they're not going to be like popular, but they're the ones that people are going to play on the slate. I want to avoid that as much as possible. I want to focus on the main guys here, like we talked about. The Chargers, McConkey, Quentin Johnson, Palmer, and then with the Ravens, Zay Flowers, Bateman, and I agree with you guys. In my eyes, it's Aguilar, number 3, and he gets looks, man. He gets red zone looks too, so it's very valuable. So, just to sum it up here at wide receiver, if I have to lower some Lamar captain to avoid some of these dudes, these cheap wide receivers, I would be willing to do so because I just don't see the upside with these guys. Why is Rieger the guy though? Like, why is he getting a respectable projection today? Like, it's not a huge number, but why is it him?
13 snaps last week, which was the
13 snaps.
most.
So that's what we're banking.
Not good,
13
though.
snaps. Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. So we're
19% and no value. That's it.
Yeah. And I just like what you said, because I don't think a lot of people understand how to use it that way probably, but like that's exactly what you can do inside Shiptimizer. So you just said it. If you don't like your 22% Rieger and you want to put him down to 10, let's just say, and you're like, I'm good with that. I'm just making stuff up. But you go do a rebuild and come back, and let's say you were comfortable with 60, so you'd already had Lamar capped at 60. You're saying that if that takes Lamar down to 52, you just run. You're like, I'd rather I'd still got 52 and I feel good with Lamar, but I'm comfortable because now I don't have 22% Rieger, who I'm not really feeling that, even though it's not a crazy number. It's just not a number that you love either. So good call.
Any optimizer you're using, if you go ahead, like in this scenario, and obviously we'd prefer that you're using the Shiptimizer. In this scenario, if you reran that, you're just going to naturally get less Lamar. He's the most expensive captain. When you put a cap on the cheap play that's getting ownership, it's going to bring down your ownership for the more expensive guys, and it'll naturally happen.
Yeah, good call out there. Go back to you, Title. Anything else you want to mention there? I think, we talked about quite a bit there, but I think, I definitely like Aguilar more than Deontay Johnson. I just wanted to bring up sort of some of the coach speak around him. Is they're not even trying to get this guy going. He's a depth versatility piece. We know how that goes. Sometimes it's, oh, we can't really use a guy. We're not planning on using him. Then what happens? All of a sudden they're using him tonight. But I'm just saying my lineup, it's all how you build. I know my boy Nick Cat, I got to call him out. He's got like 40 comments in here today, and I love the guy and appreciate him. Big time Ravens fan. He said if he finishes top 3, he'll take me to a Ravens game. Everything he's saying is Ravens heavy, and I love it. Cheer for your team. But it's like you know your plan. That you should love tonight. You're set up for what you think is going to happen. You got a perfect game plan. Should be no confusion when you go to build, and then you hope that that's what happens. I'm doing the same thing, just in a different way. So it would lead to these type of lineups more for me than needing to go that other way. That's kind of the breakdown I can give. Title, anything else you want to add at wide receiver? If not, go to the tight ends.
Yeah, so just quick, looking, week 9 was Deontay Johnson's first week back. Aguilar had 19 snaps, Wallace 20, Deontay 17. So pretty much a straight chop of all of them. Last week, week 10, Deontay, 2 weeks. Yeah, it would be last week. We're still at week 12. Deontay only had 5, Wallace 12, Aguilar 31. So that was way more. But then last week it came down a little bit. Wallace got 9 snaps and Deontay over doubled. So do you think that trend continues and we can see Deontay and Aguilar almost getting the same snaps this week? Do you have any? I know, like
Kenny knows, and this is the Ravens, man. That's what I'm saying. They do this shit, and it makes it extremely frustrating for fantasy players, us, and people watching. The reason they love it, though, is because it's confusion for the defense. There's what did you prepare for? It's hard enough preparing for Lamar Jackson with Derrick Henry, to your point, Title, why you feel comfortable with your eyesight and watching this, because, man, that gets tough to deal with in itself. Now you got to figure out all this other shit, and they're switching it up on you. So it's really hard to say, but I think your breakdown of how you can handle it and the way like you separate them or you can make your stands based on what you're seeing, a lot of it's dictated by your captain ownership and who you've got up top, and then how you see the game flow going. So, I mean, I thought you broke it down best, and I can't really poke holes in that. Like, I think that is a good call out. That's exactly what I would expect to see tonight.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, they're all below 10%. I would make a max 1. They're all cheap. And then you hope you get the right one. It looks like Aguilar. To me, Wallace looked like the last guy, though, whenever the Bengals game, when he absolutely went off, it took one play. I mean, if you watch the Washington-Dallas Cowboys game yesterday, one of the most bizarre fourth quarters ever, you will see that the most random stuff can always happen in Showdown. So, yeah, max 1 of them. Tight end position, another interesting spot. I mean, people are going to have to play Andrews and Likely, right in that mid-tier, both on the field. Obviously, both big names, and there's not much value on the slates. I was surprised Andrews' props are a decent bit better, plus 185 to score, Likely plus 380, a couple more rushing or receiving yards on the Andrews side. Yesterday, when I didn't really know, I leaned into props with Bucky Irving, which, I mean, man, dude couldn't have ran any worse at the 1-yard line with Sean Tucker, but he still did get there, and props led me right with White, or with him over White. Today, the ownership's close, but my brain, like, this is eye test. Andrews looks slow and dust. Likely's an absolute beast.
We're back to the eye test. You better put those goggles back on.
Likely's an absolute beast.
There we go. Now continue.
Andrews is slow and dust. I will be playing both. The thing is, Andrews has been out snapping them. I think I'm going to go eye test wise. Lean Likely. I'm going to play them both. I'm locked in now with these goggles. You got that right. But they're both good plays. You need them both. I don't love them at the captain spots though, because of how much they do rotate. I prefer going up to the Bateman, the Disleys of the world. But right now my lean's Likely just because I think he's better. Props do like Andrews though. Ownership close, price close. I will play both. Disley, another very solid play. I said I'm going to play a little at the captain spot. Then that Tucker Fisk. 24 snaps last week, 23 the week before. Again, he's absolutely terrible. He's not a part of the offense of like pass him the ball. He's going to make plays. He blocks. He's there as like the 5th option. The 5th option might be enough. Again, Covey literally scored 0 yesterday and was on the winner. He gets 1, 2, Lamar, Henry, all that goes off. I'm going to have to play a little Fisk, I guess, but I shouldn't say I have to play him. You don't have to play this bum by any means. I'm playing 30-plus teams. I'll probably play very little. But that's just, again, there's no value on this slate.
Yeah, I want to say this before I kick to you on tight end, because this is a couple interesting things. One, I adjusted the Jalen Reagor down to 10, as you can see here. Insanity, but Lamar went up to 86 now. And this is your thing, and you can definitely attest to this. Like, you go back, look at Mark Andrews, hops up to almost 50% at 4,600. You got almost 20% Fisk now. Like, it is just still finding you those value plays and jamming them up there to put Lamar up top. So it's
interesting.
Even when you make adjustments, you could still do it differently in other ways. You can obviously go to captain and adjust Lamar down, but I'm just saying, just to note, there's that. But it's put a lot of faith. The other thing I will say, give me your thoughts, Sue, because I'm going to segue to you on this anyway. 4,600 Mark Andrews. He made fun of the goggles, but we're showing around 24% ownership in the flex here. We're getting double that. You go to the very bottom, Isaiah Likely, $200 less. We're showing higher ownership on him, but man, he's just not getting in there in the projection. My question to you is, it's projection driven, and I get that, but we know what they both are capable of. And realistically, I don't know if we see this ownership, if that's how it's going to go in an optimizer. Our optimizer is great and others are awesome too. But if that's what it's jamming, how can it possibly be that close in ownership? Therefore, Isaiah Likely could end up being like 1/3 the ownership of Mark Andrews, and he could do the same thing.
Yeah, based on what we have, that's a pretty wide spread. 2.7 fantasy points. So yeah, if you run it using our projections, that's what's going to happen. I mean, I think it's closer than that for sure, and I'm going to have a lot of both. To be honest with you, I like Andrews. I like Likely. The one thing about Likely, very steady workload. I mean, in terms of targets, like 1 against Denver, that was a blowout. We talked about it on the show. We predicted that. We said the Ravens were going to absolutely smash that. That's the one spot where Title's eye test paid off quite well, because the Ravens beat the shit out of the Broncos, and we all kind of agreed with that, but they didn't need to pass the ball just one target, then 4, 3, 2. So he's steadily getting targeted by Lamar Jackson. I think better play in Lamar Jackson captain teams. Both these guys probably are. They're probably somewhat touchdown dependent, but I like both these guys. Like, this is the range I want to get to over the punts if possible. I want to get to these tight ends. I want to get to the Gus Edwards, the Justice Hills of the world, opposed to like these cheap random pass catchers. So that's one thing I'll be looking to do. The Fisk guy at 200, I'll play some of him, and then I'm really not going to mess with anyone else at this position. Then Will Dissly, I mean, it's almost like he's on a lot of these plays, like, it's like the plays are almost like designed for him. I mean, Herbert's looking to him immediately, getting the ball quick, 6,400. When we know that the way to beat the Ravens is through the air, I think he's a really, really good play today. Don't know if I get there in captain, but we'll certainly have a lot of Will Dissly in the flex. I mean, even like Ravens heavy teams, like Ravens 5-1s or Ravens 4-2s. I think Dissly's like the perfect guy to include in there, because just so many just easy receptions that he gets, racks up the PPR points pretty quickly. So really like Dissly, like Andrews, Likely, and then Fisk, and nothing else really.
This was just one thing to show too, is if you go to like a Lamar captain lineup with Herbert on the other side, who we saw it was jamming in the flex, you could obviously remove Dissly even and get Zay in there with Mark Andrews and still have almost 5,000 just have to fill 2 spots. Like, that doesn't even force you to go to Rieger or any of those guys if you don't want to. So that's why these lineups make sense. That's why they'll be popular. You're really just kind of having to hope that it's not Lamar that does it if you're on my side of the things of handling it. But clearly this is why it looks so good. And again, some people won't want Zay, and they'll say, like, I think a lot of people tonight are good with Dicker because it rhymes with kicker, right? Dicker the kicker. People are happy to put that in. You could see the other thing too. We're going to kickers anyway in a second, Hoop. I'll stay with you, but Justin Tucker, banish him from the Hall of Fame now. He can't make a kick. He sucks. He's another reason tonight. This guy's going to pop, 3 or 4 field goals in when Lamar slows down. That's another leverage piece to the Lamar and Henry stuff. He'll just bounce back and do it, and they'll go, oh, he does still know how to kick. Imagine that. One of the best kickers of all time knows how to still kick a field goal, and sure enough, that's a thing. So take us into kickers and Ds, man. We're getting through it.
Yeah, interested in the kickers tonight for sure. Dicker and Justin Tucker. I anticipate being overweight on both of those guys. The defense, I'll just be going back to my standard stuff. Like, whatever I get, and it's probably not going to be much, and they're not really that highly owned. You know the case with the defenses. A lot of times, one play is enough. They get a pick 6. I mean, that's probably good enough. That's the risk you take with fading them. But I can't imagine when I go and build my teams that I'm going to be overweight on either. I'll be overweight on the kickers and under on the defenses tonight.
Yeah, Title, I'll come to you on that in one sec. I was just going to show, because the chat was asking, another, like, Shiptimizer, another great thing, overwrite our projected points here. If you're on Team Hoop and you say, look, you guys gave me a great starting point, I think it's a little closer than that. I'm going to, You can do it easily, but I think some people don't do this. You don't have to. It's just my takeaway, though, too, is if you want to give some here to 7.3, I also take. And you obviously, it can come from a lot of other places. You can still leave our projection alone. I'm going to say I like to give and take because then it will really fix it up in the optimizer, too, to say, okay, now it's going to consider the price per dollar. You're robbing Andrews to pay likely, so to speak, for Rob Peter to pay Paul, if you ever heard that one. So other things you can do like that it will overwrite it and take over, where you use everything we have as a starting point. You can also do that with ownership. You say, you know what? I heard Tambo say that doesn't make much sense. I actually think it's going to be 25.7 over here on him, and I'm going to take likely down to see. I think it directly affects him. Same price, same, like just the way people do it. You can do whatever you want with that. But Title, before you go kickers and Ds, look at this lineup. Almost 7K left on the table, and you got Lamar captain with Herbert, Andrews, and Dicker. Like, that's pretty good starting point for a game like this, you'd think.
And that's why if you just go into an optimizer and run teams, you're going to get a ton of Lamar. It's just easy to play him. It's soft pricing. Like it just goes to show, like the initial run we did, where you're getting all that Lamar captain, but you're still getting a ton of Herbert and Henry, who are by far the next two highest projected guys.
Ooh, baby. Just on the great call-outs, but I also just saw something I was going to send over to Title for the perfect segue. Justin Tucker, the same price as Mark Andrews tonight, and the projection hates him. That is the play right there, man. We got to get back on it doesn't matter what the game is. It can go over, it can go close, it can go whatever. Like, if they're putting up points of any kind, we could still be some of those could still be coming from Tucker. So give us your thoughts, kickers and Ds. Title, anything extra to add there? That's an interesting one, though.
I love the kickers. I mean, why can't Justin Tucker outscore Zay Flowers? Last week, Zay had 11.9. Week before, 7.4. Why can't Justin Tucker get 12 and outscore both of them? Like, that's leaving chunks of salary on the table. I'm not saying build a Zay lineup, drop down to Tucker, but that shows right there. You can leave 4,000, 3,000, something like that on the table. I don't like a lot of these value punts. I have to like these kickers in the mid-tier. Jake Elliott got the job done again yesterday. And then the defenses, I'm naturally going to play them because we're showing, 13 and 10%? I wouldn't be surprised if that was 10% Ravens, 6% Chargers or something. And on a slate that I want to eat pretty good or a decent amount of chalk, I want to try and avoid that cheaper range as much as possible. Why not just, instead of going Justice Hill, go Chargers defense? I know they're a little more expensive. More people will leave that 400 and go Hill because he projects a lot better. If Ravens or Chargers outscore Andrews or likely, that's a way that you could see solo shipper, 500K, Sean's calling it, etc. Like, if you tell me a defense is on the winner, there's a lot better chance that you're going to have a lot less dupes than if it's not, and it's like both kickers, etc. So just game theory wise, it's like I like the defenses more than I like Fisk, Davis, Wallace, Johnson, Haskins, etc. because they always will have 48 minutes to have a chance to make one play. But yeah, it's in a vacuum looking at the game. I think they both put up points. Doesn't make sense to like the defense as much, but hey, maybe an onside kick return like the Cowboys yesterday to seal it.
Yeah, that was wild too. Hoop, I'll kick it over to you, man. I guess, Title, any final thoughts before we go to Hoop for FanDuel stuff?
No, I don't like the cheap stuff much, and I think we talked about captains, but I'm definitely going to play some Disley, some Bateman, some Johnston, and then you can leave money easier and avoid the bottom tier. So I'm definitely going to be playing more mid. I'll be overweight to the mid tier relative to the field.
Yeah, this has been the case for since Showdown started, and people still go on Twitter and bitch about it every single time they're on. I mean, it's literally been every single season. Like, they show up on Optimal, the same dudes get on Twitter and cry about it and don't adjust their play. I mean, it's just endless, absolutely endless.
Yeah, I mean, it's the gift that keeps on giving. How do these kickers keep doing it? I don't, because they're priced for nothing and they get natural opportunities throughout the game in just tons of different ways that you can see it. All right, Hoop, final thoughts, and then FanDuel. Anything you see over there?
Yeah, I feel definitely a little better after talking through it, and I'm not 100% sure the direction I'm going to go. To me, it's either my main thing for sure is if you are playing Lamar captain, I think go very overweight and leave salary on the table, and not just like a little bit, leave like big chunks of salary on the table. That's kind of my thought, but I think we did a good job bringing it on. I want to avoid those cheap plays as much as possible too. So if that does end up meaning less Lamar, I'm fine with that. Like, it does not feel good playing some of those dudes. I'm talking dudes. I mean, the top value that showed up a ton played. What did you say it was 13 plays last week, and that's why he's getting a decent number. That's scary.
Snaps, yeah.
That's not where you want to be. FanDuel, really bad pricing. I mean, I'd say like really, really bad. 16K for Henry, 15.5 for Lamar, Justin Herbert, 14K. After that, everyone's super cheap. J.K. Dobbins is ironically the next most expensive. Feel the same way about him on FanDuel as I do on DK. But like Ladd at 11.5, Zay Flowers 12.5, Quentin Johnson 10.5. Disley 7K. Like, what a bad price tag. 7K for Disley. He's been so good. 7K. Bateman 8K.
Deontay Johnson 10K.
Yeah, 10K for Deontay Johnson. That is the craziest price. Holy shit, you're right. 10K for Deontay Johnson. That is insane. Wow. It's you know what you're getting with FanDuel. I guess shouldn't be surprised. But like Disley at 7K is definitely mispriced. It's going to be very easy to build teams. Dicker and Tucker 85, 9K. It is what it is over there on FanDuel.
Yeah, it's for that reason. I mean, like bad pricing tonight. It's almost the same price for Dobbins as his quarterback, who's going against one of the worst pass defenses in the NFL that has the opportunity. So if you like the Herbert stuff on DraftKings, you should love it over on FanDuel because the ownership over there with MVP ownership is just basically all in on Lamar. You have literally more than half the field. It's probably going to play Lamar up top over there because it's free based on the other pricing. So yeah, it's you did a good job breaking it down, but some of the stuff embarrassing over there. By the way, I've been liking FanDuel for the main slate. It's been coming through. About another really good week. Had a chance last night with the Hurts AJ Brown stuff, rounding out the main slate again. We got 17th in the big $200 blitz. Had some outs there with Barkley. Like it's great for main slate. It's a tough scene for Showdown, but like you said, Hoop, earlier, and a segue into the marketing stuff for next week, for upcoming this week, we got the Wednesday show. By the way, DraftKings did add their new contests, and because of the $5 and the 44.44 that they ran, they did get some hundreds and 200s and stuff in there. But what they did, which I can at least appreciate somewhat, is they focused on the balanced payout structure to try and not piss people off even more. But everything got chopped to what the size I would have expected to see. Like we got way less people in the field for these backup alternatives to the $600K person $5 or the $4,444 buy-in that only so many people can play. So
disappointing setup. Very, very disappointing setup. Like it's just looking through this. It's not.
How's FanDuel?
I didn't check that yet.
Yeah.
I didn't check.
Hopefully better. It's
a fun day though because it's 3 games staggered. There's everyone's doing stuff with their families. Even me, I'm Canadian. It's not my Thanksgiving, but I'm still celebrating, talking to people about it in Discord, having a good time. My challenge is I know why they do it with the marketing angle, $5 to win $1 million. But if you're not going to advertise it and blow this thing up all the time, why take away one of the best days for your regular players that love this slate? That's what bugs me about it. It is what it is.
Agree.
Title, any final thoughts on that? Anything else you want to add, man, or we'll get out of here?
FanDuel, if you don't play Lamar or Herberts, you're pretty much different at MVP. The defenses will be mega contrarian, priced up right by the kickers. And then just like the Palmers, the Likeleys, the Gus Edwards, the Justice Hills of the world, Aguilar, all have to be lower owned because of that Disley misprice at 7K. So, I mean, I still don't play FanDuel Showdown. I can get plenty of money on DraftKings. I think it's a way better format, but I do think there's plenty of pivots because of that Disley mispricing and it being soft up top to leave a little money, make a pivot here or there. And the bonuses, like you talked about either last week or 2 weeks ago, for the receivers and running backs being able to get that 100 yards is huge on FanDuel to up their chance at the optimal at MVP, whereas in the past it was almost solely quarterbacks. So, nothing more to add. And, I'm excited for Wednesday. Thanksgiving is always one of my favorite days for DFS. Christmas is up there as well with NBA, but the late swap ability, staggered game times, get my pack on the slate as well. Hoops Lions always started off, so not the best game. I mean, Cooper Rush and stuff, but hey, money to be made.Ooper Rush, Tommy DeVito.
There are like storylines around these guys now. So before it was just bad games, bad quarterbacks. It's still kind of that, but now like Cooper Rush, a little bit more talk. DeVito, after what we saw yesterday, there's at least some buzz around them, even though they didn't play great. It's more of at least we got something to talk about going into the games, but we'll break it all down on Wednesday. Hoop, any final thoughts before we get out of here? I got the promos up.
No. Should be a good game though. Big total, close spread. Looking forward to it. Again, the Chargers kind of pushing the pace a little bit more, and hopefully they play into the weakness of the Ravens' pass defense and go that route to make it exciting. As you said, we got our promos up. NBA 50 is still active. If you want monthly all access, that'll give you 50% off your first payment. If you're just interested in NFL rest of season, $99 without Shiptimizer gets you all the way through the Super Bowl. I mean, best deal in the industry by far. If you want to add on the Shiptimizer, it's just $129, gets you all the way through the Super Bowl. So basically 3 full months of content. Yeah, we'd love to have you over here.
Yeah, ton of good stuff going on. If you already have this with somebody else, I mean, now's the time to check our stuff out. Maybe can help you make a switch in the future. I mean, we try and keep everything as affordable as possible. Our mission is to give you the most value at the most affordable price. That's what it's all about. The Discord's great, so check it out. Go to shipitnation.com, get in on one of these deals, give it a shot. And yeah, we'll see how this game goes tonight. Funny enough, the Ravens are back on that Christmas slate too. Talk about Christmas Day basketball and whatnot. Remember, NFL's trying to take it over nowadays too. So 2 games on
Smart.
Christmas Day. Yeah. What do you say? Who?
I said smart. And they can own any. I mean, NBA ratings are down. I mean, why not take advantage of it and pop in with the NFL games? That's
what they do. Exactly. They say, hey, you don't want to take it? We'll take it. We're up for it. So, and yeah, Kenny talks about this on the way out. Like, again, the ultimate is really nice at the end of December. It's expensive buy-in, but with satellites and stuff, you can win your way in. 200 to 300K with the even structure, but on that one, it's like 2.5, 1. It's a really nice payout structure.
It is crazy how every player has the same mindset with this, and every player has bitched and voiced their concerns and their opinions, and yet it never gets changed. It's wild to me. Like, you'd think at some point they'd listen to their customers, but guess not.
They just keep filling it, probably.
Yeah, you keep filling it up. Yeah, they're not going to
change if they keep filling it, but it's still like they would fill it the other way if that's what people want. I don't know. There has to be some reason.
That's what it's all about, Rob. That's the one, man. Secrets of satellites. You got to play in them. You can beat up on small fields. Some of the people that are playing in it that have the bankrolls to play in small fields are MME players that, just throwing it in there just to see how it does. So they may not be playing the best strategy for that either. So certain little things to take away there, but covered a lot, guys. We're excited about this one. We'll get in there, cover it over on Ship It Nation. We'll have all the coverage up sooner than later for tonight's Showdown slate. And then we'll be back Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern. Join Title, Hoop, and myself. That's going to do it for this one, guys. For the same crew, Title, Hoop, and myself, ToeTagginTambo. Let's ship it!